For us,
So
it was a little bit different. Because as Keely mentioned earlier, she had been working closely with Angie and Gary in the math department. But for us, she'd sent it out via email, and I read about what the math department had done, and I'd seen the exemplars that were just up on the screen. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And it's quite different from the previous tool we were using to map curriculum, which was Atlas Rubicon, which is a little bit more clunky and not as sleek and user friendly as the storyboards. And so I decided to give it a go. And the timing just happened to be fortuitous because I was planning a new course. And in the middle school here, we were transitioning to some different electives for students and giving them a little bit more choice in what they wanted to learn. And so I teach home economics traditionally, and I was focusing in on a new baking course. And so this course was going to be preparation for my high school food science class. And that's kind of how all of the planets aligned to get my storyboard going.
So Michelle, let's pull up your home economics storyboard. I think we have that. Fantastic. Yeah. The great cookie keeper. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, and if you can go to the next page, let's just get a sense of what this storyboard looks like. So talk us through whether you, I don't know if you started with the titles, or you started with the images, or the focus of the story. Just walk us through your process.
Well, I actually started with the learning goals. I thought, what do I want this course to become? I only have a semester with the students, so 18 weeks flies right by. And I thought, at the end of this semester, what do I want students to have a foundational knowledge in? And once I had that done, I said, okay, now they're going to know all of these things. So what are the essential questions? How am I going to lead them to these goals and get their mental juices flowing so they really start thinking about what we're doing in the class and why and how? Once I had those two pieces, then I broke it down into units and gave the units some names and numbers. And that led me into all of the images. And for the images, mine are really simple, black and white. I got them from the Noun Project. I don't know if anyone knows that website. It's really good for integrating into courses where you have a lot of language learners. If you need to make things visual for your students, it's a really great tool to use. And so that's where all of these images came from. They're free and open source, so they were handy to use for this. And the last thing I did was the focus of the story. Once I knew what I wanted to teach, then I could describe how I was going to teach it.
So thanks for walking us through that process, because every designer that I've been working with over the past year since Curriculum Storyboards came out actually has a little bit of a different process or approach. So thinking about focusing first on the learning targets or the learning goals that you deeply cared about, especially because you are working with them in middle school to get them ready for your own class in high school. Is that correct, Michelle?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're basically trying to get them energized and excited about working with foods. So you're also getting them relatively grounded and prepared to take a more sophisticated course. So you have a vested interest in laying out those basic foundations, but then you started to move to what are the essential questions that sparked, then laid it out into unit titles where perhaps the learning goals were bundled. Then you did the images, and then finally the focus of the story. So that potentially is another good way, especially of starting to imagine a brand new course. And this is a survey course. Would you clarify that as well? Right. It's a survey course of only 18 weeks. So when time is not your friend, curriculum storyboards are also really helpful to get you honed in on what is super important, because sometimes we can't cover everything that's important. And the next part is, how do you get kids to be energized and engaged? And one of the things that I love about this particular example is the friendliness of the language. And so to try to make sure that it's accessible, that it is something that kids can actually read and lean into. So I love that.